माता त्वमेव त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देव त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देव. Oh.
ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Let us see where we are. I will share the text. We have finished a particular section that had as its refrain from verses 24 to 28. And what was that? Which had as its refrain the last line, which said, Nahan dehaha asadrupaha jnanam iti uchyate budhaihi. By the knowers of Atma. Who else? Buddha means that is what it is. Knower, by the knowers of Atma, Jnanam iti uchyate. This is called Jnanam. What is it that is called Jnanam? That which is described in the first line of every stanza. Whatever is described in the first line, that is what is Jnanam. And what is it that's described in the first line? Various lakshana of Atma, Brahman, whatever you want to call it, that it is free of attributes, that it is actionless, that it is unchanging and always free. For example, in verse number 27, that it is free of guilt and hurt, nirmalaha, nischalaha, unchanging, anantaha, limitless, shuddhaha, free of hurt and all kinds of omissions, commissions. Ajaraha, ajaraha means free of old age, free of death. And this concluded this particular portion, drawing a big contrast between the I, the Atma, and the body. So the body properties and Atma Lakshana are completely different, and they have to be understood as such. And from verse 29 onwards, we see the author becoming a little more, little more impatient, not as a teacher, but with the people who, not with the students, but with other scholars. So now, having delineated the Atma from the body, the focus of the text turns to other scholars in the tradition who keep very, very stubbornly, who keep to this position that the Atma is as good as the body, that the Atma is as good as the mind. The Atma has to be inferred, or better yet, the Atma doesn't exist at all. Why? Because we can't see it, we can't infer it, and it's not an object, and so therefore what? It must not be there. So this kind of a stubbornness in the face of what is completely negated by the Shruti, in the face of numerous negations, all they have to do is read the Shruti, and sadly, even after having read the Shruti, they come to the same Shruti that we read, the same Upanishads, the same Bhagavad Gita, they come to drastically different and sadly wrong conclusions. So here we are going to hear some choice words from the author, and just to let you know, he is not scolding the students. He is not scolding somebody who doesn't know and has come to this knowledge because they want to know. That is not who he is scolding. And so the scolding tone in the next 5-6 verses is because he is impatient with those people who are self-styled scholars and who people look up to. And what else? Yeah, they are prolific writers. They are prolific writers, and then these are the people who have a lot of currency in the world. In the world, they have a lot of say, and they can delude other peoples. Swayam deluded, Anyan deludayanti. They delude other people as well. And so this is the problem. So these are the people who come under the attack of this highly impatient Shankaracharya, who's had it with these kinds of scholars. Okay, so with that introduction, let us see the next few verses so that we know that this one, it's not the students that are under attack. So here, where are we? Yes. Swadeham shobhanam tyaktva purushakyam cha sammatam kim murkhashunyamaatmanam देहातीतं करोषि भोः स्वदेहं शोभनं त्यक्त्वा पुरुषाख्यं च सम्मतम् किं मूर्खशून्यमात्मानं देहातीतं करोषि भोः. The first, what is it called? The first scolding is directed towards one of our own homegrown person who is a Vedantin but hasn't got it. So this is the one who keeps saying everything is beyond. Somebody called himself beyond Ananda. That clearly shows that one doesn't know what Ananda is and how you can't really be beyond Ananda, because Ananda means limitless and you can't be beyond the limitless. But nonetheless, so this is a homegrown person. And this in the 29th verse, he or she, whoever it is, this fellow is one of quote unquote our own, we can say, in the sense that some Vedanta appears to have gone in, but it is stuck somewhere in the throat, hasn't completely swallowed it, hasn't assimilated it, and is touting certain things, and the knowledge, let us say, is riddled with error, riddled with all kinds of problems. And this is the person who is being chastised in verse number 29. Swadehe shobhanam santam. Swadehe, in your own body, meaning in one's own body. Swadehe santam, shobhanam, we'll come back to that. Swadehe santam, residing in your own body. Santam, existing, residing. Where? In your own body. Residing in your own body. And it is what? Cha sammatam. Sammatam means totally agreed upon by all the Shrutis, established by all the Shrutis. As what? Purushakhyam. As that which is known as the Purusha. Sarvan Purayati. Purusha here is Atma, Brahman. This which is known as the Purusha, and it is totally accessible as what? I. Accessible as what? I. And this is known as the Purusha, and Sammatam, agreed upon. Sammati means agreement. It is agreed upon by all the Shrutis as identical with Brahman. So this Brahmatma, which is actually quote unquote ever existent, Santam, never changing. And what is this? This is within the body, meaning it obtains as it were within the body. It is avasthitam, it is residing wherever your body is. It is residing wherever your mind is. You don't have to look for it, and you can't look for it as an object. And so what is happening here? The person has come to a wrong conclusion. I can't see Brahman anywhere. And so, what? And therefore it must be what? Non-existent. I can't see Brahman, and it is, I can't sense Brahman. I can't see it. I can't objectify it, and I can't infer it, and therefore it is non-existent. So what has happened? And so the person is almost ready to join a Buddhist group, Sangha. And so this is the person. So here we have to go back to the basics. If we encounter such a person, you have to go back to the basics of doing this Tvam Pada Vichara. Tvam Pada Vichara means what? That who is this I? Tvam Pada Vichara is the basic thing in the Shastra. What is the nature of this I, and who is it that is obtaining, as it were, in the body-mind-sense complex? Who is the Sakshi? Who is the observer? You have to go back to the basics for this person, because somewhere a wrong turn was taken. And actually this does happen in the beginning of the study, but here at the end of the study this person has come to the wrong conclusion. And how do we know it happens in the beginning of the study? Again, from the Viveka Chudamani. The teacher in the Viveka Chudamani tells the student, what is told to the student? Please look at that which is separate from the body, connect to that self-revealing self, which is separate from the body, which is separate from the mind, which is separate from the intellect, the buddhi, separate from raga, dvesha, all these things. And the student gets panicked and says, Bho, Guru, oh Guru, nothing like that exists. And when I negate all the things you have told me to negate, what I encounter is non-existence. And so then, so the encounterer of non-existent existence, is that person existent or not? Definitely existent. So this is the Shunyavada Khanda. Khanda means the criticism of Shunyavada. So Swadehe, that which obtains as the self, we'll look at it. Let's just understand the words. That which obtains as the self, that is non-negatable. The I which never needs to be proved, which is established by all Shrutis as what? as Purushakhyam, as Purushakhya, that which is the of the nature of the Purusha, and that which is Purushakhya, and it is established by the Shruti. Don't say the Atma is established by the Shruti, because that's not the job of the Shruti to establish that which is already self-evident. So what is established by the Shruti? That which is established by the Shruti is entirely different. Purushakhyam is established by the Shruti, that you are nothing but Ishvara. That is established by all the Shrutis, and all the Shrutis agree on that. They converge in this area, and therefore, O you Murkha, means the deluded one. Dehatitam karoshi bho. Bho. Oh, how could you make it beyond the body? And how can you say it is non-existent? So two kinds of fellows are tackled here with the same verse. How can you say it is non-existent? What? The Atma. How can you say the Atma is non-existent, number one, and how can you say it is beyond the body, mind, sense complex? Whatever is there is beyond the body, mind, sense complex. How dare you say that? Because it is obviously the study of the Shruti has not blessed you. You have to be blessed by the study of the Shruti, and for some reason this is not understood, that the Atman here called Purusha is consciousness available in the physical body for appreciation as I. In one's own body, in all the three bodies, consciousness is there. Aham, aham, aham iti sakshat sakshi rupena bhasate. It shines as the I. And so the I am need never be proved before the pramana pravritti, meaning the proving any operation that tries to prove things. Before the pramana pravritti starts, I am already there. Unproven I. Unproven, self-proven I. Before proving anything, the self-proven I is already existent. And I, the one that establishes everything, need not be established, because everything is evident to me. Body evident to me, mind evident to me, senses evident to me, and I am evident to me. And so I am is evident to me. And so where is this consciousness? Don't say, just because the verse says Swadehe, we can't translate it literally as living in the body. If you translate it as living in the body, then you will be in trouble. Why? Because then you will be looking for something that is living inside the body. Another being. This is the problem. So this is not what is done. So living in the body, we take it metaphorically. So it is not that it is inside the body, it is not outside the body, it's neither inside nor outside, and it is neither not inside nor not outside. So it's not that the consciousness is inside, so that means what? It is not outside. We have to understand this Purushakhyam consciousness as all pervasive. There is no place where it's not. All pervasive but imperceptible, non-objectifiable. And it is what? It is sarvatra, it is everywhere. It is sarvavyapi, it is sarvabhutantaratma. It obtains as the sakshi, it is the cheta. But then why do we say swadehe? Because it is a locus for its expression. Just like every body is a locus for the expression of consciousness, this body is also an as though locus for the manifestation or the expression of consciousness. And so this is the Shruti, that this expression of consciousness makes me own up the body as I, as mine, my body. And so then what happens? So that which obtains as I is not the body, is not inside the body, is not outside the body, is not non-existent, because the I is already self-proven, which is very easy to miss apparently for some people. And so then, so what is this I? It is called Purusha by the scriptures, sometimes Purusha. It is called by the Bhagavad Gita, and also the Upanishads. Purusha, we have seen this in other contexts. Purusha means two things, two derivations. One is Purishete, the one who sleeps in the city, which is more like a citadel. A citadel means it's a fort, a fortress. And so who is this person sleeping in the fortress? The Ajnani, the one who is asleep to one's own nature, like the person being scolded here. And so the person being criticized here is asleep to not only one's own nature, but even the concept of the self-existent I. And so these are the kinds of people that get misled and then threaten to mislead others also. And so then, so therefore, that which obtains, as it were, in this body, that I, which is understood as the observer of the body, the observer of the mind, that Sakshi is not identical with the body. The Sakshi is identical with Brahman. That is what has to be understood. The Sakshi is identical with Ishvara. The Sakshi is mistaken to be identical with the body, and so therefore it is called Shobhana. Shobhanam, Mangalam. Shobhanam means Mangalam. Mangalam, this Purusha who is obtaining in the body is actually all Purna. The second derivation of the word Purusha is Purna. Self-fulfilled and totally fulfilled. Doesn't need anything, free of wants, free of incompleteness, free of sorrow, fear and all other difficult emotions and limitations. Shobhana. Shobhana means many things. Shobhana means auspicious. Shivam. Shobhanam. In the form of Ananta, limitless, which is Ananda. That is why it is called Purusha, which is because it is Purna. Shobhana also means it is in the form of Atma Jyoti, light of consciousness. Shobhana is well lit, and Shobhana means auspicious, beautiful, and all these meanings are there. And so this Purusha is Shobhanam, and it is extremely extremely well established by the Shruti. And then what do? O Murkha, O deluded one, Shunyam Atmanam Karoshi Bho. You or may and your friend also here, or maybe you have both two kinds of delusions operating, because only one Murkha is addressed, not Murkhau. So the same person has two kinds of confusions, we can say. So Kim means how can you, O deluded one, have come to these two absolutely wrong conclusions. One is Atma is non-existent. Why? Because I can see my body. I can't see Atma. And so therefore Atma doesn't exist. Who says? The existent Atma says. So this is a rank form of self-denial. We don't even know how it is possible, but somehow you appear to be doing it. So then the other thing you say is, this Atma must be somewhere in Vaikuntha. Atma means Brahman. Purusha. Purusha means man. Man means God. God means Vishnu. And then what? Where is this Vishnu? somewhere far away in Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha as in why go there, or how to go there. Exactly. And so in this Vaikuntha, this Purusha is there. Rajate, Shobhanam Purusham. I want to go see all these things, all these nonsensical things of heaven, and far removed. This person, comes to these wrong conclusions that it is beyond, beyond, beyond. There is nothing beyond. There is nothing beyond the infinite. There cannot be anything beyond the infinite. There cannot be anything beyond the body. There cannot be anything beyond the mind. There cannot be anything beyond the senses. There cannot be anything beyond, because we have to see the truth of this selective negation. And the negation is very deliberate and selective. Atma is the body. The other way around. Body is Atma. Atma is not the body, because Atma is much more than the body. Atma is the truth of all bodies. So my body is Atma. Atma is not the body. Mind is Atma. Atma is not the mind. Senses are Atma. Atma is not the senses. And this way it's a selective, one-sided negation. Why? Because everything is Atma. And for everything to be Atma, Atma cannot be any one thing. It is nameless, formless, attributeless, and it pervades everything, gives satta, lends its existence to everything, and lends its sentiency to everything without becoming any one thing in particular. So this we have to be very, very clear. So how can you say it is beyond the body? Nothing, there is nothing there. Beyond the body means it is, then who is taking care of this body? Because of whom is this body shining? Which light makes this body shine? All this we have to ask. And obviously, you, dear sir, are not asking these questions. And so therefore, you are being called here as what? Murkha. Murkha. Murkha means not having much viveka to talk about. And then let us see the next one. Then the next one. Svatmanam shrinu murkhatvam shrutya yukta cha purusham. Svatmanam shrinu murkhatvam shrutya yuktya cha purusham. Dehatitam sadakaram sudurdarsham bhavadrisham. It should be bhavadrishaihi. Bhavadrisham also okay, but somewhere else it is bhavadrishaihi, and so we will make it that, so that for ease, so that it's uniform everywhere. Svatmanam shrinu murkhatvam shrutya yuktya cha purusham dehatitam sadakaram sudurdarsham bhavadrishaihi. That is better. So, we will do it like this. So here, what is the difference between verse number 29 and 30? Immediately, we find that the author cannot wait to call him Murkha, and so doesn't even wait till the second line. The Murkha is coming in the first line. And so this is one difference we see. And then the other difference is we don't have the same refrain, and that will come a little later. So it will come from verse number 32. We have to wait for that refrain, and then Syad Ekah Puman. This will be the refrain for the next few verses. But until these three verses do not have that, because the author is on a roll, and the author wants to address these kinds of scholars who are irresponsible and who haven't studied properly, and this is what happens. So here, right from the beginning, we say Murkha, Shrinu, at least now listen, oh deluded one. Obviously you haven't done Shravanam, at least now Shrinu, Murkha, please listen. And then the please listen now. You know, you listen how you listen, and you and then with the please understand this. How to understand this? You can what to understand? Your own self. Svatmanam shrinu. Svatmanam shrinu means with the help of the Shruti. Shrinu means listen. Now don't come to conclusions. Shrinu, listen. Listen, because you have to understand this properly. This Atma has to be understood properly. So please listen. And listen to this, listen to the Shruti. And listen to what I am saying also. Both meanings can be taken. So Svatmanam Murkhatvam Shrinu. Listen to the teachings about your own Atma. Before writing, this is a little bit of a sarcasm, because before writing about everybody's Atma, first get to know who you are before deluding the whole people everywhere. Murkhatvam, tvam again for emphasis. Murkha would have been enough, but for emphasis, oh deluded, ignorant one. Listen to the truth of your own self. And two methods are given here. The one is Shrutya. Shrutya means with the help of the teaching. This is the Shruti, Shrutya, like the, what is that, third case. Both of them are in third case. So this becomes the instrument of understanding. The instrument of learning is the Shruti. And so, please go back, because what have you done in Vedanta class? You have failed. You have failed the Vedanta course. And so you have to repeat the course. You have not been able to graduate. Why? Because it is because you have not paid attention, or even if you paid attention, the head was full of all kinds of notions about the I. Notions gathered through reading other books, other kinds of philosophies, and competing things which make no sense. And so those ideas and notions which were in the head acted as a powerful repellent for this knowledge, and obviously nothing has gone in. So you need to repeat the class. So Shrutya, how? Through the Shruti. The Shruti expounds the nature of the Atma. The Shruti expounds the nature of the Atma, and this is why you have to go back and listen, because the last time you were listening, you probably fell asleep, like the student in the Kenopanishad who asks a question and asks to be taught the entire Upanishad after the entire Upanishad has been taught. After the whole Upanishad has been taught, the student says, Upanishadam bho bruhi. So just like that, you need to repeat this course. Find a teacher, not anybody who agrees with you, because obviously that has been the problem. Find somebody who is able to expound the Shruti and understand it through the Shruti. So this method is the only method for Atmajnanam. Atmajnanasya mukhya sadhanam Shravanam. Shravanam is the only sadhana that yields the fruit of Atmajnanam. Jnana phalam is only gained by Shravanam alone. But then what are you doing? You are not, you haven't listened properly. then you have to make the knowledge your own. You have to own up this knowledge. Yuktya. Shruti and yukti. Yukti here means using the brains a little bit to help assimilate what the Shruti has taught, using certain kinds of reasoning. And what are the kinds of reasoning we are having in mind? Like, for example, pot, clay, snake, rope. These are some of the examples which use logic. And not that the Atma is established by logic. Nyaya is not a Nyaya, and Yukti are not a means of knowledge to establish the Atma. Nyaya means inference. Anumana, Arthapatti, which is the staple diet of Nayayikas. And so that is not the way to establish the Atma. In fact, Atma doesn't even need to be established. Its nature is veiled from one, and that nature has to be revealed by the Shruti. What does the Yukti or logic or Nyaya do? What it does is helps to assimilate the knowledge more deeply if the Yukti is deployed according to what the Shruti says. So it is called Shruti Anukula Yukti, a logic that does not go Pratikula against the Shruti. So we don't use the logic to establish, for example, the presence of Ishvara. You can't do that. Some people try. The Nayayika does this only. And what do they come? They come up with some wrong conclusion. So we can also use the yukti a little bit. Like we would say, for example, idam jagat, idam jagat ekakartrikam. So the idam jagat sakartrikam we can say first. Meaning, this jagat must have a karta, it must come along with the karta. Idam jagat sakartrikam. Kartra saha vartate sakartrikam. Idam jagat sakartrikam. Why? Because it is complicated. It's a complicated jagat. And many things are there which were already there before I came. Before my parents came into the picture, and their parents before that. So then, idam jagat sakartrikam, ekakartrikam. And then what? Anekatmatvat, meaning it is a many and variegated jagat. Anekatmakatvat. Prasadadivat. Here, this would be Shruti Anukula Yukti. Prasada means like a mansion, palace. So, this jagat must have a karta, must have a creator. Why? Because look, it is many, it is variegated, it's complex, it is full of laws we can barely understand, much less penetrate and much less make our own. And we can barely even scrape the intelligence, the knowledge behind these laws. And so therefore, because it is like a what is that called? It is like a many and variegated and complex jagat. Therefore we say there must be a karta. How do you say that? What is the, what is it that makes you say that? What is the yukti here? What is the hetu? Prasadadivat. Prasada means mansion, palace. So when I look at the palace, when I look at the stained glass windows, I look at the pillars, I look at all the ornate carvings, the doors and the windows and the floors and everything. And then I say, oh my God, this must be somebody's masterpiece. So just like it is impossible to think, here is where the Shruti and the Yukti go together. Just like it is impossible to think that, oh, this mansion just cropped up on its own. This mansion cropped up on its own. When I was sleeping at night. When I was asleep at night, this mansion cropped up on its own. And here it is. We cannot say that. This defies all logic. So what is logical? Because we have observed that for a mansion or a palace to come up, what should be there? There should be a blueprint first of all, and that should be nicely, that should be nicely made by a architect, and then the architect transfers this blueprint onto the ground, and that is itself wonderful. So the architect then, what does the architect do? The architect is not enough. Then you need masons, then you need the supervisors, then you need carpenters, plumbers, electricians, all these things, or some source of light you need, even if you talk of an ancient palace. And so all this has to come together, and then the architect, we can say, has brought this palace to life. So therefore, this Jagat also did not just crop up like that. There is an intelligence, knowledge behind it, and there is Nimitta Karana, there is the intelligence, and there are raw materials involved, just like in a palace. And so we think, yes, we have used a wonderful Shruti wonderful Yukti to illustrate this. And just as we are rubbing our hands in glee, the Nayayika comes and says, Idam Jagat Aneka Kartrikam Anekatmatvat Prasadadivat. They basically using the same reasoning, but in a very distorted way. This Jagat has many, many kartas. Why? Say the hetu is the same, anekatmatvat. Because this Jagat is full of many, 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 many kartas. Why? Because look, so many things. Somebody must have made the dinosaurs, somebody else must have made the human beings, the body-mind complex, somebody else must have made the trees, somebody else must have made the mountains. Like this they come to the conclusion, using that same logic of the palace. Look at the palace. So you need carpenters, you need welders, you need this one, you need that one. And so how can there be one Ishvara? So there must be many Ishvaras. You see, the Yukti, the logic is a very, very dangerous thing if it is not used properly. And so here this person is being told, Hey Murkha, oh you deluded one, please use your brains to understand the Shruti, what the Shruti is saying. Refurbish the knowledge, make the knowledge of the Shruti your own by using also some logic. And what is this? What is the Shruti trying to say? It is this Svatmanam, which is Purusham. This Svatma, this one's own Atma is what? Purusha. Here the second meaning applies. What is Purusha? Purusha means that which fills up everything, that which is complete, limitless. That limitless Ishvara I am. Purusha is the word used for Ishvara in the Shruti. Sahasra Shirshaha Purushaha Sahasrakshaha Sahasrapat. So this is the Purusha. And then here, what is there? Dehatitam. Means it is not confined to the body. Here also we had Dehatita. Dehatitam, so, but here slightly different, So here, there the person said there is no Ishvara at all, Shunya. But here Dehatitam means that which is not beyond the body. The very use of the word beyond confuses us. So we can say that which is not confined to the body. And here also we can have two meanings. In the previous verse also we can look at it slightly different. See here. So one meaning is what we have already given. Just go back to the previous verse briefly. So one meaning, whatever we have given. So how can you think of this as beyond the body when it obtains in the body? So the beyond the body means not connected to the body at all. And we can take Swadeham So we can take Dehatitam as qualifying Purushakhyam. So that which is the Purusha, which is not just confined to the body. There also we can take it like that. So that this way both the meanings are there. Okay. So now here Dehatitam, not confined to the body. And what is its form? Sat akaram yasya brahmanaha sadakaram. Sadakaraha. The akara, the swarupa, what is the form? The form is in the form of formless existence. It is in the form of Sat. Sadeva Somya idam agre asit. This Sat alone was. What was Sat? This Jagat, this whole variegated Jagat that you see was in the form of Sat. Now it is manifest. Earlier it was in a place of demanifestation, but it was still Sat. Now also it is still Sat, but Sat in the form of a manifest Sat it was. And so Sadakaram, that which is existence in the form of existence. Existence here means what? That, again it's a very interesting and a strange concept. Existence, what can I say? Existence means what? Existence means just like my own existence. Aham asmi, I am. And sada bhami, I am always present. And I am always, available to myself. I am available to myself to know, not as an object, as the very subject. So then anything, this applies to everything. Whatever you say exists, that existence belongs to Brahman, not to the thing itself. So everything lives on borrowed existence. Body is living off of this borrowed existence. Mind is living off of this borrowed existence. Senses are living off of this borrowed existence. Everything is just this borrowed existence. There is only one existence, and that is Aham, self-existent. I, this is Brahman, Ishvara, whose existence is quote unquote in everything. And so that is what has to be understood. So therefore, Sadakaram and Sadakaram, Dehatitam, Sadakaram, Sudurdarsham. So Durdarsham would have been enough. Durdarsham means difficult to understand, difficult to see. See means to get, to understand, for difficult to understand. Why? Because everybody is looking for objects to objectify. And it would be very comfortable if Atma looked a certain way, if Atma had form, if Atma had a shape, if Atma talked, and if Atma said, this is who I am. But that is not the case. Atma not being an object is Sudurdarsham. Durdarsham, difficult to objectify. And when you add Su in front of it, extremely difficult to objectify. So extremely difficult to understand. For whom? And the author quickly says, not for me, bhavadrishaihi, by people like you. For people like you, it is, alas, very difficult to understand. Why? Thick-headed as you are, not that you are dull. You have resistance. You have severe resistance to seeing this, because you failed the Vedanta course. You did not go through it properly. You were not open to it. And you can only take the horse to the Shruti, but you can't make the horse listen. And so you were busy horsing around and you were not available for instruction. That is why you didn't get this. It's not that there was something wrong with the teacher. It's not that there is something wrong with the Shruti either. Then what is the problem? You are the problem. The resistance is the problem. So certainly by people like you, and your friends, all of them are included here because it is plural. Bhavadrishaihi, people of your caliber who are very intelligent but who are unable to still see. It's not that there is anything lacking in your mental capacity. No, your mind is not compromised. Absolutely not. Your buddhi is fine also. Your mind is not compromised. Your buddhi is working, but it is wedded to some other notions of the I which have no home in the Shruti, including the notion that this Atma doesn't even exist. This is exactly the problem. Okay, so let us look at that verse again to make sure we haven't missed anything before going to the next one. Yeah, so Svatmanam Shrinu Shrutya Yukcha. Svatmanam Purusham Shrinu Dehatitam Sadakaram Sudurdarsham Bhavadrishaihi. Yes, we have covered all the words. Aham Shabdena Vikhyatah Eka Eva Sthitah Parah. Aham Shabdena Vikhyatah Eka Eva Sthitah Parah. Sthulastvena praptah. Sthulatvena, it should be. Sthulatvenekatam praptah katham syad ekaf katham syad dehakaf puman katham syad dehakaf puman. So after scolding these people who are themselves deluded and delude others, why? Because they are YouTube influencers. they have a great presence. Oh, but in ancient times they didn't have YouTube. Yeah, but they must have had some other kind of tube through which all these people's ideas and ideologies were aired out. So they were very huge. They had huge followings perhaps, and they were teaching everybody the wrong things. Like when the blind lead the blind, what happens? Everybody ends up in a ditch. So this is what was going on. And so this is the story here. And then now we come back to the one with the chorus here. Katham syat dehakaf puman. Katham syat dehakaf puman. We'll see that. See, even here it is. So we'll see what all that means. But we find it in verse 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37 till 37. Okay. So this is a nice little section. So dehakaha. Dehakaha means the body. Body is dehakaha. So why not just say deha? Why say dehakaha? Dehakaha means the dehakaha means the what is that called? The kutsitarte ka pratyaya. The pratyaya, the suffix ka, is in the sense of a derision. Derision, kutsitartha, means derision. So when you say, it is also for diminutive, like when you say balaha, child, balakaha, that in there it has a sense of a small child. Diminutive, cute, balika, diminutive. And diminutive means it's so cute. Balakaha, such a cute baby, such a cute child. That is one meaning. But kutsita also means ninda. Ninda means as a derision, as a critique. So when you want to deride something, you say that this is a dehakaha. So it is in the form of a derision. It's in the form of a ninda, critique. Okay. So katham syat. Katham syat. How can how can this body be Purusha? How can this body be Purusha? Katham syat? How can this body be Purusha? That is the so how can this body, this body be the Purusha? Puman here is Purusha here. So Katham Syat Dehakaha Puman. Puman doesn't mean male here, it means Purusha. How can this body be the Purusha? And this is of course a rhetorical question, and this question is there from verses 31 to 37. So again delineating the subtle differences between the body, mind, sense complex and this Purusha which is the Atma. So that is the purport of this refrain. Katham syat? How can it be? How can what? Dehakaha. How can this body, which is what? Which is just earlier we saw, which is worthy of criticism. It is finite. It is full of what kind of say? It's full of all kinds of waste. It is subject to aging, it is subject to disease, it's subject to death, and it is finite in time, and so therefore how can it be the all-knowing Purusha? And the body is of course lit up by the Purusha. The Purusha is self-lit, the body is inert, the Purusha is sentient. The body is the locus of all kinds of finitude. The Purusha is infinite. And so how can the two be the same? We saw that in the earlier section. This is the same thing, but in a little more complicated way. There it was just drastic differences. One is animate, another is inanimate. One is self-lit, the other one is mithya, it's not self-evident. And one is satyam, the other one is dependent on the Purusha. All this we saw. That was very easy, that section. Here it is a little more thoughtfully done, because it's a little more involved. And so let us look at the first one. Where are we? Yeah, the first one is here. Aham shabdena vikhyatah. Vikhyatah, famous. Kya, to know. Vi plus kya, to know very well, or by many people. Everybody knows. What does everybody know? That it is known by the word aham. That which is known by the word I, everybody knows. So you go approach somebody who has never even heard V for Vedanta. They haven't heard the word V for Vedanta at all. They have never understood or heard Vedanta. And then you approach them and ask the following. Then, are you here? What will they say? They will say, I'm sorry, I haven't studied Vedanta. No. They will say, yes, of course I'm here. So the I is well known all over the world. It is the most famous thing in the world, because everybody says, I am, regardless of whether they've had spiritual instruction, Vedanta instruction or not. Everybody knows I am. Aham shabdena vikhyatah. That which is known by the word I. And how many eyes are there? How many eyes are there? Don't say many, okay? Because we don't want to fail this course. So don't say many. Only one. One eye in many bodies. In many minds. One sentient eye. Dehatitaha, sadakaraha, sudurdarshaha. All this we saw earlier. So one eye. Ekaha. Ekaha eva. Ekaha eva. So ekaha eva means there is only one of its kind. This one self-evident I, which is known by the word aham. There's only known as only one. I is singular. Oh, but then we have we. No, don't bring in we. We are talking of I. I is always singular. And so there's only one. Sthitaha. Sthitaha means existent. Existent. Existent where? Existent immediately means it draws the akanksha. It draws the expectancy. Where is it existent? Paraha. Nowhere that you can objectify. It is not, you can't dissect the body and find this, the truth of this aham shabda. This I, which is the truth of this body, mind, sense complex, the content of the word I does not exist anywhere that you can pinpoint. Why? Because it exists everywhere. And therefore it exists nowhere in particular. So that this is this is the truth of this body, and this is the truth of this body mind complex, that it is paraha, even though it is vikhyata as I, and so therefore, even though it is vikhyata, even though it is famous as I, that I does not really obtain within the body mind sense complex, because it is as though obtaining in the body mind sense complex. More we'll see later. Yeah, we have left it right in the middle of it, but can't be helped. Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you.